I just want to say thanks everyone for joining us today, and thanks to our panelists for taking the time out of their schedules to talk to us about winter marketing, which is everyone's favorite subject, or at least it is for the next 45 minutes or so. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll kind of do a little rundown and talk through what to expect for everyone on the call, and kind of take it from there. Give me 1 second here. All right. So, like I mentioned,
Andrew, real quick before we start jumping in, as people are signing in, did you want to find out where everyone's coming in from?
We already found
that.
You can't see it because you joined late, but yeah, yeah, all sorts of people from all over the place, which is great.
Okay.
Austin, Jacksonville, Boston, Kansas, Myrtle Beach, lots of warm places. I'm in a cold place, so yeah, me and Morgan holding it down here up in the Pacific Northwest. So
cool.
Yeah. And then just as an extra aside, just for everyone, on the call, if you want to put a question in for anyone to answer, you can either use the Q&A function, or you can use the chat and just put it in there. And we will go through everything, kind of some of the questions and things that we have, laid out. And then if you have, we'll go through those basically at the very end. So feel free to use that to submit any questions that you have for our guests here. So today, like I said, we're going to be talking about winter marketing. So for multifamily and senior living, I think, both have been obviously hugely affected with just changes in operations and how to market, and really even how to move people in and get people in the door. It's very, very different this year versus last year, logistically, and additionally on the marketing side as well. So we're going to talk through a little bit there. So for those of you, we've been on here for a little bit. My name is Andrew Cederland. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at Conversion Logics. Been with the organization for about 9 years or so. And then joining me as a fellow moderator is Joe. Joe, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Joe Carino. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer here. Been with Conversion Logics. I'm coming up on about a year now, and I've known of the organization for many years, and it's been a great year. So happy to be moderating today with Andrew. Thank you.
Yeah. And then for those of you that don't know too much about us as an organization, we're a digital marketing and software company. So you can see here, we've got a few awards that we're proud of, but Premier Google Partner, Facebook Marketing Partner. We've been around for about 10 years and have grown pretty well over the last 10 years, just really just doing our best to drive the best quality traffic to our clients' websites. And then a couple years ago, we developed a software platform called the Conversion Cloud, which is lead generation tools. And really the whole point of that is stick this on your website, you can get more leads and then understand more of where those leads are coming from with some analytics and attribution on the backside. So that's a little bit about us. And then we'll hop into today's panel. So it's going to be a roundtable discussion. We're just going to kind of throw some questions out, and people will answer them. Again, if you have additional ones that you want, that you're curious about, feel free to throw them in the Q&A or the chat. We're going to be talking about winter marketing this year, some strategies that people are doing, and then also looking ahead to spring. I think we can all we get excited about getting out of 2020 and moving to 2021, and then very end, we'll kind of point you toward a couple of resources that we put together to help you navigate through kind of the winter leasing season. So with that, I'll kick it over to you, Joe, to introduce our panelists.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. And we are going to give our panelists a few minutes to introduce themselves, and we've asked them all to, give us a little insight to them, and so we can get to know them a little bit. So let's start off with Amanda. Amanda, welcome. Amanda is from Allied Orion Group, and let's hear from Amanda.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So my name is Amanda Zensmeyer. I'm the VP of Marketing and Education for the Allied Orion Group out of Houston, Texas. I do work remotely out of my home office in Plano, Texas. A little bit about me, I would say my favorite holiday tradition would be starting off on Thanksgiving Day by watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. That's always kind of like the onslaught of the holiday season, and then kind of closely followed up with watching the Nutcracker. I'm a nerd when it comes to being able to watch the Nutcracker every year. My favorite holiday treat, I would say, is pecan pie, and it is pecan, not pecan. So pecan pie. It's a very Southern thing.
Uh-huh.
And then, what am I looking forward to in 2021? I think it is just being done with 2020 and having that behind us and starting hopefully with a fresh slate.
Yes. Yeah. I think we are all hoping for that exact sentiment there. So thank you.
Thanks.
Right, well, welcome. Next, we have Nick, who is joining us with the Santa hat on there. Nick, how are you? Where are you from? Good. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Jack. So I'm filling in for Jack, and as we know, 2020 has been the gift that keeps on giving. So Jack is feeling a little under the weather, and so out of abundance of a caution, he's like, "Hey, can you fill in for me?" As I was driving into Paso Robles. So they call Paso Robles. It's either Paso Robles or Paso Robles. I have no idea, but I just anyway. So I was driving in, and I told him I'd fill in for him. And so we're just wishing him
happy to have you,
recovery. Yeah. So I'm Eric with a K. I just tell people it's Eric with a K because then they always remember it for whatever reason. And but my favorite holiday tradition is I love Thanksgiving through Christmas, through the holidays, through New Year's. But I like sitting around the tree and watching the kids open presents. I have 3 kids. I have a 15, 13, and 10-year-old, and so so it's always fun watching them open presents. My favorite holiday treat, I have been on keto for the last year and a half, so I've been trying a lot of different keto treats. And so there's a mug muffin that we do, and it's low carb and lots of fun. And but before keto, it was definitely cheesecake, with some blueberry sauce. So I love that. And then what am I looking forward to in 2021? We moved to a new area, and I'm just looking to have my family integrated. With COVID and moving your kids, it's hard to get them socialized. So we've been trying a few different things to get them to meet other kids and things. So in 2021, I'm really looking forward to us integrating into our new home and our new community and being able to help them out and volunteer and get going. So that's me.
All right. Well, it's very nice to have you with us today. Very much appreciate it. Please tell Jack we said hello.
Yeah, I will.
All right. Now on to Morgan. Morgan is from the Goodman Real Estate Group. Morgan?
Hi, everyone. I'm a marketing specialist for Goodman Real Estate, and I would have to say my favorite holiday tradition is going with my dad every year to cut down a tree from the tree farm. We've been doing that since before I could walk, so that's just something that's really fun for us every year to do. My favorite holiday treat is Spritz cookies. I don't know if anyone has ever had those before, but they're similar to sugar cookies, but they're a little bit different. And I would say in 2021, I'm definitely looking forward to just a fresh start and a new year and hopefully lots of healthy people.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So Andrew, what is one of your treats, Andrew?
Oh gosh. I'm a big apple pie fan. So, and not pumpkin pie at all. So Thanksgiving's apple pie, Christmas apple pie. It's just, that's probably one of my favorites. Yeah. What about you, Joe?
Well, we have a particular tradition in my family that since I was 8 years old, my mother has insisted that I make these Rice Krispie treats, but not just Rice Krispie treats. We make them we actually add green dye to it. So then we make little Christmas wreaths and put Red Hots on them. And they always layer all the cookie dishes. And to this day, my mother still says, "Are you making those Rice Krispie treats?" And now my kids love it. So it's one of our traditions. We love it every year.
Nice.
Nice and simple. All right. Well, thank you all for introducing yourself, giving us an opportunity to meet you a little bit and get to know you a little bit. Why don't we go ahead and jump right in and start with some questions? All right. I think, Andrew, why don't I start it off and just really, I think, we want to kind of, as we're looking at what's been going on, obviously, and coming into this winter season, any surprises from all three of you that that has come to you, that either more leases or less leases, anything you didn't quite expect? Any thoughts?
I think
Either one?
so. We have a bunch of communities in the greater Seattle area, and we've been seeing a lot more people interested in touring. And I think our leasing offices have been a little bit busier in that sense this month compared to other Decembers in years past. So I think a lot of people were hesitant at first when COVID kind of started, and then later in the year, as they've maybe felt a little bit more comfortable moving around more, we've been seeing lots of people looking for new homes.
So do you think that was due to pent up demand where people were waiting and waiting and then all of a sudden they started getting out a little more?
Yeah, and getting a little bit more comfortable with going somewhere and touring, or maybe taking virtual tours. But what's interesting is a lot of the people who we're seeing tour right now and interested in apartments are actually looking a few months out. So they're, I think, preparing a little bit more for the change maybe in a few months.
All right. All right.
I think, you know, I'm a regional director of sales, so I was in a CRD role for a community relations director role in a community for almost 15 years. So I've done almost every role in senior living. And what I've noticed is the transformation from being a farmer, you know, allowing the leads to come to you and actually getting out and marketing, which has been we've had to be so creative in this environment, getting out to the skilled nursing facilities, to the doctor's offices, and really penetrating that market where, you know, the days of waiting for the lead to come to you in the office and then touring in this environment has not worked. And so we've been really just working on training our staff and getting out and just being creative to find the leads. That, you know, we all know that leads have been down this year across the board. And so we have just said, you know, we're all in the same boat. Everyone's dealing with COVID, so let's go find them. So that's been really the neat thing to see, a lot of transformation of our salespeople who have gone from farmers to hunters.
Any particular things that you could think of that were, you know, surprisingly successful in that effort?
Yeah, you know, DoorDash Zoom lunches with social workers.
Oh, yeah.
Like, who knew that would even work, you know, and, you know, those types of things, getting doctors out to go golfing, just like old school type of marketing, like, you know, socially distant, we're out on a big field, you know, golfing. And people are so tired of being stuck in their little cubicle or their office that we've found that they're actually more willing to get out and do the Zoom lunches, to do the DoorDash. Just they're just deprived of socialization. And so that's been kind of the big surprise for me is how wide open it's actually easier to go see a doctor and a social worker now than it was prior. And getting in the building and, you know, circumventing all of the security measures and all of that to go and just see someone. And now you just call them. Hey, we're going to Zoom. Here you go. Done and done. So that's been the big difference.
Yeah, it certainly has changed the environment and how we interact, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Amanda, any thoughts from your standpoint?
Yeah, you know, for us, I would say things have, you know, for a lot of our leasing offices been steady Eddie. We've had great traffic. We've had, you know, steady leases coming in the door. Even for one of our lease ups that's in Houston, Texas, we have done a phenomenal job getting double digits, you know, on a weekly basis with being able to attract leases. And so for us, I think that it's really kind of been on trend, but I would agree with Eric and Morgan. It's almost kind of like you truly have to go out there and get the leases. They're not just walking in the door like they used to. And unfortunately, grassroots marketing is kind of on hold right now. So what you're having to do is, you know, a lot of kind of direct conversation and really trying to get, you know, in person with people and have those conversations.
Sure. Andrew, I know you had a few questions. You want to throw one
Yeah,
out?
I wanted to touch a little bit up on the marketing funnel and kind of like where people are at. You know, Morgan, you kind of touched on the fact that you're getting a lot of you're seeing a lot of activity this winter, but it's really people looking really far in advance. And maybe if you could expand on that a little bit, sort of a comparison from last year this time versus what you're seeing this year? And then also for the other two of you, are you seeing the same thing? Are we seeing a lot more, there's always the last minute people. Those are just that there's the type of person that, calls up and needs something immediately, but are you seeing the same trend of people looking a lot more in advance or kind of already prepping for next spring right now?
I think a lot of what we're noticing is exactly that. People are looking for next spring, but what's interesting to me is that COVID obviously brought a lot of change this year. And so I think people are maybe needing a little bit more space so they can have a home office, or if they have a roommate, maybe they need to spread out a little bit so both people can work from home. And so I think that with all the change brings a lot of uneasiness to people. And so I think people are maybe just trying to get a little bit more prepared for what might be to come, which is why they're shopping so much earlier, just to see what's out there. And they still don't know what's to come in the future. So maybe it's, okay, now we can compare staying in our current apartment, or here are two other options for us. And then what's going to happen with work? Are they working from home, or do they want to move closer to work if they're going into the office? So I think there's just so many things still up in the air that people are trying to find a little bit more stability and control things a little bit more with just how much change COVID brought this year.
Amanda?
I would agree with Morgan. I would say too that, there's several ILSs right now that are even saying that, the prospective resident is definitely out there. They are searching, they're actively looking for an apartment home. And they are, they think that spring is going to be gangbusters for us, and that we will have like an onslaught of people looking for an apartment home, that we need to be ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Eric, any thoughts?
Yeah, so what we found is, seniors are still aging, and seniors still have a need for senior living. And, although the leads are down, what's been great is Jen and her team at Conversion Logics have really helped us with our SEOs, with our apps, with our Conversion Cloud, getting those people who are searching at 12 a.m., 1 a.m., getting them to us right away so that we can get back to them. It's people are using every digital type of device today to find their leads, whether they're on their lunch break or whatever. So that's what we found is you have kind of two types of people: the people they're sick, they broke their hip and they need immediate placement, but you also have the people who are like, I've always wanted to look into senior living, and now is a great time because I can virtual tour about 10 communities in one day. And so it's just been great, Andrew, with your company, and Jen, just really driving the leads to our salespeople so they can filter through all that and get the customer what they need.
We appreciate that, Eric. I mean, extending into that thought and that sentiment, obviously we're in the middle of winter now, or getting into it, right? You typically have different marketing efforts that, you normally would do going into the winter. What was your focus this year, and really what worked best and maybe what didn't work? Is there anything in particular that, leading up to this winter, as from a marketing standpoint, that really did work well? Or maybe that didn't? Anything in particular?
I mean, yeah. So, for us, we have.
It sounds like more of your online stuff has really taken off then.
Yeah. I mean,
right.
Yeah. I mean, like I said before, and I don't mean to take over, but I will. No, sorry about that. But yeah, I mean, the things, like we said before, that have just really taken off are the digital platforms. I mean, all of the platforms that your company has provided us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a year ago, no one would be doing this. And, there's always kind of in the you guys are always thinking about these things, but now it's so essential, mm-hmm. No pun intended, for our organization to be able to do that. And I never thought that we would get to this point this quickly.
Right. Amanda, what about from your standpoint? I mean, particular types of, marketing strategies that you would have implemented for the winter? Anything work really well or didn't that you expected that surprised you?
Right. I would say probably one of the biggest surprises this year for us has been the virtual tour and the self-guided tour component. And, thinking back, a year ago, if someone would have told me that self-guided tours was going to be coming, I would have said, no way. Definitely don't want that. But it's here. It's not going to go anywhere. And it really gives that prospective renter, even outside of COVID, it just gives them that opportunity to look for an apartment home on their time schedule and on their time frame. So I would say that's probably one of the biggest things that we're looking at from a marketing, perspective of moving into, through 2021.
So how do you then adapt to that from a marketing messaging standpoint?
Right.
What type of communication did you do to drive people to that?
Right. So I think the biggest thing is, through your website and making sure that you've got a chat bot that's available for prospective renters to be able to click on that and schedule that tour the way they want it, whether it's virtual, whether it's self-guided, whether it's in person even. And so that's probably the biggest one for us.
Right. Morgan, what about from your standpoint? You've got similar situation thoughts?
Yeah, we were definitely digital heavy this year, I would say, with our ILSs and our marketing strategy, and working with Conversion Logics to get really creative on some of the different groups maybe that we're targeting. When you take a look, I think it kind of depends on the communities and where they're located, but we've worked with Conversion Logics to target traveling nurses, for example, because there are quite a few large hospitals in the downtown Seattle market, and lots of nurses still moving from out of state to support the different hospitals. So that was something creative that we tried this year. It's actually worked really well for our downtown communities.
Sure.
On the digital side is definitely how are you meeting the prospect where they're at? Maybe they're not comfortable coming in. So how can you create this really awesome customer service experience and get a custom video of the unit that they might be moving into and sending that to them? Because I think through all of this, maybe because you don't have that in-person connection, because it's so different in person versus online or virtually, how are you really giving them that, showing them that great customer service experience, and that you're going to be there to help them once they do move in and become a resident. So I think that personal touch through those virtual tours is super important as well.
Did you find that you needed any particular concessions to get them there? Did you have to offer anything more, you think? And if so, what did you do?
So yeah, that's a really interesting one, because we're so spread out. We have quite a few communities in the suburbs where we've noticed we haven't needed to offer as many concessions because more people were maybe moving out of the city for the little bit lower price point, or they didn't need to be downtown anymore. So maybe they were relocating to be closer to family or something like that. So we've noticed fewer concessions in the suburb markets, but downtown, we've definitely seen higher concessions than we've probably ever used, to be quite honest. And it's really interesting because now, even though you have those concessions, you have residents who are now wanting to move into other communities because of their concessions. Maybe they're offering 3 months free plus free parking is a lot of what we've seen downtown.
We've heard, what do we
then how do you,
6 months or something too, didn't we?
yeah.
Oh, I think it was half off for 6 months, which is
That was half off for 6 months. I know.
Yeah.
Morgan,
Which is the same as 3 months free,
Right.
but I mean, it's to the end user, it means something totally different. So
Sure.
half off for 6 months might be more attractive for some people, but I think it's interesting too, when you are in those downtown markets, is how do you keep your existing residents, and do you start offering them a concession as well to re-sign their lease with you?
That's a good point. And Eric, you said you've had a lot of traffic via your site. So any thoughts there? Did you guys have to do anything there to drive them to some of your tours maybe, or
Right. Yeah, we've had to offer concessions. It's just, we have a toolbox that we use with our sales team. With leads in general over the whole industry being down, we've just had to incentivize people, and it's great for the consumer. I mean, it's, anytime, you're getting a better product for less money, right? So, so it's great for them. We see these ebbs and flows in the industry. I've been around a long time. I was, way a long time. I was the youngest guy, in the industry. Everyone I worked with was, 50 to 60, and they've been in the industry forever. And so I've seen these cyclical cycles, and it's just like Morgan said, it just depends on the areas. Like out here in Paso Robles, it's a different market than in downtown Milpitas, in the Bay Area. So, but we've had to use those toolboxes to to incentivize people to come in and to, it's more just to get them in the door. Once they see the property, they love it. And it just helps them out to get that, through the door. So Jen has helped us, with direct mailers, with email blasts, with those types of things, really directing those incentives to our end consumer and client and prospects, so that we can get them the information they need.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Amanda, what are your thoughts? I mean, Morgan obviously has properties out in the suburbs and cities. I mean, are you seeing the same thing? Because, it's funny that, as Morgan said that, right, they're not having to provide as many consent. I mean, it certainly does make sense, but, are you seeing the same thing? And if so, any particular advice for people that are in the same situation?
Yeah, I would say for us, we have some markets where we have no concessions running, and then we have others where it's a concession for a specific floor plan type, anywhere from a month to 6 weeks free. I would say probably the biggest thing is, my advice would be to be creative. It's not always giving them, half month off or 6 weeks off. Think about a free move. At the end of the day, it could cost you $250 to $500, or, gift cards that would help them kind of create their new living space. So really kind of being a little bit more creative that way, instead of, taking that hit on that concession line.
Mm-hmm. And I
How do you guys, oh, go ahead, Joe.
No, that's right. I want to extend on that, because I think it's fascinating that you did say something that stands out. And I don't think a lot of people think of that oftentimes, is, putting it on a particular floor plan.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that being advantageous for a suburb, maybe doing a 2 or 3
Right.
bedroom all of a sudden, right? Now you got people
Right.
who need more space, but also in a city as well, because people are having to remain in-house. Are you finding that, obviously, that's been a little more successful over others? Is it a 2-bedroom? Is it a 3-bedroom? I guess it really depends on the market.
It really depends on the market. And we see this a lot in a lot of our lease ups, where you may have, a lot of units coming on. That's a particular floor plan from a particular building. So you need to try to get that leased up quickly. Or you may have a few outliers that you're just struggling with getting leased. But, we are seeing, we have a lease up right now in Leander, Texas, that has a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath. And so it really kind of made us pause and take a look at that and say, you know what, we need to change our marketing tactics on this. It's a 2-bedroom with flex space, or it's a 1-bedroom with flex space, 1-bedroom with an office. So we went back and, actually recreated our floor plans to really show an office space instead of a bedroom. So I think really, again, thinking about that, thinking about those floor plan types that are your kind of your loss leaders that you're really struggling with, and what can you do to get those off your books?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Andrew?
Yeah, and it's a great kind of segue. You're talking about messaging, and I think that's something that I'd love to hear a little bit more about. Is how has your messaging changed? Even from amenities that you're marketing. Obviously you can't market a big common area room with a bunch of people hanging out and enjoying themselves, because we're not allowed to have fun anymore. And so how are you changing your marketing around both amenities and then also floor plans? And maybe Amanda, we can go right back to you, because I'd love to hear kind of how the 1-bedroom with flex space or 1-bedroom office has kind of have worked for you, and then any other messaging changes that you've made around either amenities or anything else, and then we can kind of go up the line from there.
Yeah, so this change that we made is very recent. They actually just received their CO last Friday. So we haven't really got to see how it's going to take in the marketplace yet. From our perspective, you do have a lot of renters that are officing from home. They're needing that additional space to be able to be on Zoom calls, be able to, have that private space like they would in their office. So I think it is getting really creative with those 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms that may just be sitting out there that you need to get leased. how can I change these up? Whether it's, take one of the bedrooms and turn it into a nursery, turn it into a flex space, even a home gym, because you do have a lot of fitness enthusiasts that maybe they're not able to really go to the fitness center anymore. This gives them that flexibility and that option to do that. I think another thing for us is, really kind of taking a step back and trying to figure out how we can market those amenity spaces as we move into 2021. It is the winter season. So really focusing in and honing in on fitness is a big one, because that's typically everybody's New Year's resolution, is to get fit and to be active. But also, if you've got an outdoor fire pit or you've got a fireplace in your, leasing office, really make sure that you've got some great imagery of that so you can sell it on your website, because people love amenities and they love knowing that they have all these little places, all these nooks and crannies they can go into on site, especially, with COVID going on. They're stuck in their apartment home all day long.
Yeah. What about you, Eric?
All right, Eric.
So it's the same thing. I mean, we just had to be more proactive in showing our communities as, hey, you can still socialize, depending on what tier you're in. It changes daily. But, marketing that way is, people are at home without socialization, which we know all the studies show that if you're home alone and not getting socialization, that you're gonna take a dip. I don't care if you're a healthy person. I don't care if you're a senior. And so really focusing in on the socially distant, safe, healthy activities. And then, keeping the families, letting know that we're also, even though they can't come visit all the time, we can still Zoom with them. We'll have our activities coordinator set up meetings. So really kind of showing the little detail intricacies of communication, of socialization, the things that, you would get on just a tour normally, right? Amanda and Morgan, I mean, normally you just do a tour and you show all these things, but now you have to be, focus like a laser beam on the things that are really, really important. Like Amanda said, the amenities, in senior living, families want to know, is my family safe? Are they, are they safe? Do they have everything they need? Are they getting their medications? But are they having fun? And are they, in this last season of their life, are they enjoying it? And so really kind of showing that in this environment has been probably the biggest challenge. But like I said, your team has done such a great job in helping us tailor that messaging.
Oh, I appreciate that.
What about you, Morgan? Anything to add?
Yeah, I think it's getting really creative with how you are sharing your amenities, but also what other activities are you offering. So for example, in Washington, we have a state mandate where all of our fitness centers are closed, and we've kept our other amenity community rooms and things like that closed as well. And so something like that is very hard to sell, I would say, when someone comes to tour. They want to see the space and then they want to get excited about using it. So I think it's a few things. One is definitely, tell them that those spaces are there and available and you're excited to be able to open them up again. But I think another thing is just getting really creative with some of the different resident activities, even if you're not meeting or doing anything in person. Can you do a virtual happy hour with your residents? Or we've had some of our communities doing virtual cooking classes where we're partnering with someone and the community is providing the ingredients to each resident who signs up for the cooking class. And if it costs $50, we're charging the resident $20 and paying the difference or something like that. How can you kind of get creative with that to keep them engaged and busy and connected in their own homes and not the amenity spaces necessarily? And then for those people who are not in Seattle where it's cold, I would definitely say focusing on any outdoor amenity spaces you have. I know in the spring, we'll be focusing a lot more on that too. We have some communities with great outdoor spaces that I think people can still use and enjoy at this time, obviously social distanced. So.
We have one question, just a follow up kind of, since we've kind of talked about closing the gym, a question that came through says, if your city mandates all communities close their gym, like you just mentioned, would you still focus on that because it's not an amenity that they can immediately enjoy? Do you still try to highlight those as, hey, this is what you have in the future, knowing that things will open up again, or do you kind of push past that and focus on other things?
I think it's important to still share that you have that amenity space and let them know what you have. If you have any pictures, definitely share that with them. But then also if you have other spaces that are open, you can highlight those a little bit more, or if you want to highlight any virtual resident events or things like that is good too. But I think it's still good to show people the gym. They know that, if they're looking in that city, they know that the gyms are closed at all complexes and not just yours. So I say still show it off. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Agreed.
Yeah. Cool. Joe?
Yeah, well, looking forward, obviously going into 2021 as we are and talking about some of the amenities you're doing right now, things to highlight, what are some of the strategies you would implement now for someone that's just looking now, that's going to be moving come the spring? Because again, that's going to, changing the gears here a little bit. Now you're looking at, okay, I've been focusing for the winter months, but you do still have prospects that are looking for spring, that are starting their process. And as we know, it does take a couple months before someone makes that move, especially someone like Eric in your area. They probably take even that much longer to really plan, to really make sure. With things being closed, I would imagine it's very difficult to then highlight your indoor swimming pool or fitness center. But what are some of your thoughts and some advice you would give some of our listeners here on really what they should do to sort of navigate around that? I mean, is there any advantages or to showing it now or not, or highlighting a certain section, calling it springtime? I don't know. What are your thoughts? Eric, you want to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Eric.
so we're going to highlight all the amenities of the community, whether we can use them or not, because it changes. Like we said, it changes daily. I mean, we'll get a new guidance from the state, and it opens and then we can be socially distant. We can't, and so we're just going to highlight what we have available, because we know, and I'm an optimist. We're coming out of this. We're going to be fine. We're going to be able to get back, maybe not to where we were prior, but all of us are going to be such better leaders through this, and we're going to be so much more creative. And one thing that I've really noticed is that families, when you lead by being there, walking slowly through the crowd, being there with your team, that's what I've noticed that has really kind of propelled us to that next level. I mean, we've only had a couple of months that have had negative growth during COVID, and that's just a testament to our leadership in this company and their foresight. And but we, to get back to your question, we show everything. We're going to show what we have, and we want optimistic people. We're trying to help people in that last stage of life, that last season, to have fun and to enjoy life. And so we're going to be optimistic with them and just let them enjoy everything we have. And next week it's going to change, and the next week it'll change, and we just have to be, we have to be adaptable, and we have to be able to move with the ebbs and flows.
I love your viewpoint on that. It's so nice to hear, thinking that one day my own parents might be going into something like that, and all of a sudden having that is comforting. So I appreciate hearing that.
The thing is the great joy that I have, we always want to have meaning and purpose in our jobs, right? Mm-hmm. And the greatest thing that I get is I get to take care of your parents, and I get to see this generation that went through World War II, through Korea, through Vietnam, that built this nation. They called the greatest generation. They literally built what we have. They built the foundation of the platform that we have today. I mean, if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be on the Zoom call. And I get to see that. And the greatest joy that I have is, when your parents come, and hopefully they'll come stay with us, because but the greatest joy is a lot of times families don't necessarily tell their kids, especially, the baby boomers, hey, I'm proud of you. I love you. But they'll tell us. And so then we get to tell the kids, right. Hey, your dad loves you and he's proud of you. And they're awesome. Like, you never told me that. This is great. So I know I got on a side tangent, but the one thing through COVID that I want people to know is that we have to be optimistic. We have to move forward, and we're going to. And our buildings are going to be full once again, and this is just a part of the cycle. And I tell people, if it doesn't, we're all in the same. If it just blows up, then we're all in the same boat. But we know that throughout history, if you're a student of history, you know that this is going to end, and we're gonna keep on going. And luckily we have a platform that you guys give us
Yep.
through Conversion Logic, so we can keep moving.
Yeah, thank you. Amanda, what about from your standpoint, the optimistic approach, or do you change things in different areas on your site to focus on different seasonality?
No, I think honestly, you do have to continue to focus on everything that you have to offer and really show that and showcase it, so people know what they're walking into and what they're going to have in the very near future, letting them know this is going to be yours. This is your fitness center, your pool, so they get excited about it. I do think that, some of our amenities do change though a little bit, and especially through COVID in the beginning, we had a lot of our sites that were creating virtual fitness classes and really kind of doing like what Morgan's properties were doing, really kind of thinking outside of the box and what can we do virtually for our residents so they still feel that sense of community. And I think that's probably the most important part is as you're getting, new residents moving into the community, you want them to feel that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Morgan, what are your thoughts?
I definitely agree with what Amanda and Eric said, and I would just encourage everyone as you're taking people, prospects on tours of your community, whether it's virtual or in person, really paint a picture. I mean, tell them a story and show them what it's like to live at your community. Even though the amenities are closed today, we're hopeful that they're going to open again, and get creative with how you're messaging that, and then what other ideas you might be able to share with them. Maybe there is a YouTube channel or something you want to share with someone if they're really into yoga. You can share those different resources with those people, but I think that's really big. And then another thing that we've implemented recently with all these prospects looking a few months in advance is we've actually created little be-back cards, which are custom for each community, and they're just the size of a business card. You can put the employee's name on it, and then you can write a concession in for the person. So you write the date that they toured with you and say, if you come back by January 31st or whatever the date would be, still honor the 1 month free or 2 months free or something like that, so that they're taking something away tangible and they know that they can still come back and get a concession. So I think that is helpful for those people who are looking a little bit farther out.
Sure. And what are they called?
We call them be back cards.
Be back card.
So come back, be back. Yeah.
All right.
And you'll get a little concession. So
I like that.
Yeah. So that's something that has been kind of fun and
that's clever.
amazing.
All right. Thank you. Andrew?
Yeah, I think, kind of the next big section is really just looking ahead. So, as we kind of transition and get back to normal, are there anything that you guys think are here to stay, like self-guided tour options and anything that you think are going to it was a COVID thing and now it's gone? I guess, what are you guys thinking is going to happen moving forward? And Morgan, why don't we start with you?
That's a great question. I think that COVID kind of pushed us to be a little bit more digitally focused this year, and definitely accelerated the pace of the self-guided tours and the virtual tours. But those are here to stay. And I think that in the future, people are going to opt for virtual tours more than coming into the office, because I can sit at home on my couch and take 10 tours in 3 hours instead of, driving over the city and trying to find parking and going and seeing those places in person. So I think that the virtual tours are definitely something for us to keep top of mind and continue growing our knowledge, skill set, and developing what those tools are that are going to make it easy and convenient for us to be able to offer those to prospects.
What about you, Eric?
Yeah, it's funny, Morgan, that you say that. We bought our house on FaceTime from San Diego.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so my realtor was walking through and she's like, look at this, and here's, you can make this an office, and all this crazy stuff. Who knew the biggest purchase I've ever made in my life I would do digitally off an iPhone? So I think those are here to stay, because you're going to have people, especially in this post-COVID, they're going to be getting new jobs. They're going to be moving. Hey, I don't have to commute in the city, or I can move to the suburbs, but it costs me $5,000, to fly to New York City. I'm just making stuff up. But, now you can just do it virtually, and we have the technology now and the platforms that we've had to make to get to this spot. And, you know, when people are at the hospital and mom's about to discharge, I can see in the future, hey, I'm just going to do a virtual tour because I've got to discharge my mom in 6 hours to 8 hours. You know, and that's where we as leaders make our money, is being able to forecast what's coming up, right? Making educated guesses and taking time to think and seeing where's this wind going to blow, and which way is the market going to move, and we just want to be ahead of it. None of us foresaw 2020.
Right.
But it did teach us that what I've been doing with our teams is, you know, external business development, a sound marketing plan, database execution. You know, Jack McCarty, that's his big three. And so I've just been saying, hey, plan out the year as if COVID didn't happen, right? And then let's take this first quarter, and every week that COVID is still with us, let's just make this a COVID month. And then so we're kind of forecasting, but it's still giving that vision to our teams that the end is near, that we're going to be coming out of it. And so, like Morgan and Amanda said, I think the digital platform, you know, it's here to stay. Who knew that I'd be buying all my clothes online, and, you know, I have an app that measures my shirt size, and they send me one, and, you know, I don't even have to go to the store anymore, and which is my least favorite thing to do, by the way, if you just want to know. And but that is what we're really seeing in this, especially in the next quarter, is this digital platform. But I think from here on out, it's just going to be great for seniors and their families.
Yeah. Amanda, anything to add?
Yeah, I ditto what they said regarding, you know, self-guided tours and virtual tours. COVID has definitely made us be more of a forward thinker as it relates to, you know, just that day-to-day business. I would say that the other thing too is, if you haven't already, I would invest in a CRM, you know, that customer relationship management tool, because at the end of the day, you know, it's helping your leasing team with auto responses, and then, you know, for the prospective renter, but then it helps guide through that whole life cycle of that prospective renter until they move in, or they decide they're going to move, you know, across town somewhere else. So those would be one of my biggest selling points too.
Yeah, it's interesting kind of talking through all these changes, and I agree. I think the flexible tour is here to stay, and really just, I mean, so many habits have been forged through this time, and I think, you know, we're obviously going to see a lot of things return to quote unquote normal. Hopefully, like, people are going to want to go to in-person events and spend time, you know, in real life. But yeah, certain things like grocery delivery, never want to not do grocery delivery ever again. I mean, that's like the best. Can't believe that it took till COVID for us to do that as a family. And then, you know, Eric, or maybe it was Morgan, something you said about kind of the touring and, you know, sitting on your couch and looking at 10 different places over 3 hours. And I think that, you know, in the automotive industry, they've sort of had a lot of this for the last few years, kind of a little bit ahead of where multifamily and senior living have been, where, you know, you see the amount of people showing up in person before they buy a car is much lower. You know, they're going to go look at 10 cars online and only show up to maybe one dealership to make a purchase. And I think that, you know, so much more of the journey is going to happen online, you know, for multifamily or for senior living. You're going to go through and tour all these different places, and you probably will show up in person, you know, as long as you can. Maybe you show up and just look at 2 places in person and then choose one. And so I think you know, so much more of the decision-making process is going to happen in advance. And it's just definitely something to look toward in 2021.
Yeah, and I would also add to that is go and look at your online presence, and when you Google your community, what's coming up, what kind of reviews are you getting, and make sure that your digital presence is really representative and really positive of your community. I think that's a big one as people are searching online so much more. And another thing that this made me think of is just think about Amazon and how everything has been, you know, you can get 2-hour grocery delivery. You can get your packages delivered in 1 or 2 days if you have a Prime membership. So how are you responding to both residents and prospects when they reach out? Are you responding within an hour or a few hours? Because their expectation is you're responding pretty quickly, you know, so Try not to let those response times get too long, I would also say.
That's awesome.
I think Andrew's right. I mean, the environment in which we find ourselves is the new normal. And coming out of this, having that optimistic approach that Eric was talking about, which I think we all should have that viewpoint. I think that that does help lift some of us up and get things moving again. But I do believe, as Andrew said, we're not going to see a lot of that stuff go away. And more of the industry is changed forever because of it. So as Morgan was just saying, you've got to be prepared. Always have it out there. And I think that's great advice. Thank you.
Yeah. So we're almost out of time here. So I guess just kind of give it up to each of you panelists. Do any of you have final thoughts that you want to impart before we take off here to any of the listeners? Any last things that you want to share?
Yeah, I have a couple. So kind of piggybacking off what Morgan said, I would say number one is be in constant communication with your, whether it's your PDC company, whether it's Conversion Logics, whether it's your ILS provider, really make sure that what you're paying for is what you're getting, and you're hiring an expert. So let that expert help you navigate, through the next couple of months. That's what they're there for, and that's what they love to do, is to be able to help you. And I would say probably the next one is, really take a moment and do a marketing audit. Really look at what does the internet have to say about you, whether it's your reputation, all of your reputation management. Is your Google My Business up to date? And does it have all of your correct information? Those are probably, one of the most important parts. That's the first thing that people see right there on the right-hand pane, is just everything about your community. So make sure it looks great.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Any other final thoughts, Eric or Morgan?
I would just
Go ahead,
say,
Morgan.
go into 2021 with a positive attitude, and definitely there's still a lot of changes that'll be coming. So just embrace those and do your best to kind of navigate. But remember, customer service mindset first, because I think that makes a huge difference when they come meet with you at the leasing office, or they talk to you over the phone. If they just hear that you're excited and welcoming, that'll go really far.
Yeah, I think this year, what we've been, trying to train in our staff and our teams is being a servant. The way that you find joy in life, joy is not happiness, right? You can be unhappy and have joy. But creating that atmosphere of joy within your organization, within the group of people that are around you, and just being a servant. And, always, if you're buying, meals for your team, or if you're, doing different things, eat last, just do those things every day that show that you're here for them. Because when you start doing those types of things going into this new year, I think what we're going to find is that, we've lost something in our culture, which it's all about us. It's all about me, and what I want right now. And what we've learned is I can't just go to the store and grab stuff. I have to wait 5 days for Amazon to send it to me. Those types of things. But my final thoughts for this year is I just want you guys and everyone that's listening to have just a wonderful, wonderful new year. I hope you have great blessings, and that this season of joy that we're in right now, that you will find that joy and that hope and that peace, so that we can move on to this next year and just have a wonderful year. And all these things that we're talking about, and all these platforms and conversion logics and leads, that this next year we're getting to make a real connection with real people that need our products to make their lives better. Yeah. And so, that's Joe and Andrew and Jen and all of you guys, and Amanda and Morgan. I just really appreciate you, and everyone that was listening. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to listen to us, spiel about what we do.
That's great. Well, you're absolutely right, Eric. And I think, from Andrew's point and my standpoint, I mean, we want to wish the three of you a happy holidays.
Thank you.
All your families. And yes, thank you for sharing your time with us right now. And to everybody on our call, we have many of our clients are listening in. Plus, I do know these webinars do get posted to our website and people do listen to them. So as they do. We want to wish everyone a very happy and healthy New Year, Happy New Year and Merry Christmas and all that good stuff. But Andrew, you want to take them through some of this stuff here?
Yeah, just a little last few things before you take off. One is we've been doing webinars all throughout 2020. Basically, right when COVID hit, we were doing weekly webinars with updates, and then kind of slowed the cadence down when everyone kind of got Zoom fatigue. But you can watch all of those. The COVID webinar, there's some really good stuff on there. Highly recommend checking that out. It's on our website. We put together a winter marketing guide. You can download that on our website as well. Just walks through some tips on how to deal with seasonality, and it's been updated for some of the COVID stuff that we're all going through. And then last is schedule a consultation. Talk to somebody on our team. We're happy to help you. You can use our one of our tools, little schedule genie down there, and book a time, and someone will get in contact with you about how we can help, and either take a look at what you're currently doing or help fill a gap that you feel like isn't being met. So yeah, just to echo everyone else, and just thank you for all of your time, Morgan, Eric, and Amanda, for spending an hour plus with us. And thanks everyone watching, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and Happy Holidays. And yeah, thanks for joining us, and here's to 2021.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.
All right.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.